Hi there, I'm Nancy Nash with Starfish Strength, and today I'm going to take you through some stretches to release tight hips and quads and get your hips, knees, and all of the rest of you feeling and moving your best. So for equipment today, I'll want an exercise mat, a sturdy chair, and if you have very sensitive knees, make sure you also have a small towel handy. And then just make sure you've got enough room to make a snow angel in all directions because we're going to be moving. So for my first two stretches, I'm going to use the support of my sturdy chair. For this first stretch, I actually want the chair behind me, so my back to the chair, and then I want to make sure that I can still hold on to the back of the chair for some support. And if not, you could always set this up so you've got a wall in front of you, hold on to the wall for support. That totally works too. Bend the knee and put the foot on the chair behind me. So make sure that this much is comfortable for you. And then I'm going to focus on lining up my ankles, knees, and hips, drawing the belly in, and then really pushing through that foot that's on the floor and pushing the hips forward at the same time. So that should result in me feeling a good stretch in the front of this thigh and hip. And if this doesn't feel like a big stretch to you, don't worry, we've got some other variations that will definitely get into that area. So this is usually the way I introduce clients to stretching these muscles, because I can always push my hips back a little bit if this feels like too strenuous to those muscles. And then I can always gently push my hips forward without putting any impact pressure on the knee, as I become more flexible. So after you've held for 30 seconds or so, let yourself push both hips back, slide that foot off safely, and we're going to do this on the other side. So going to that second side, I'm going to push my booty back a little bit, make sure I've got a good grip on the rail of my chair, put the foot onto my bench or my chair, and then I just want to make sure that I've got ankle, knee, and hip alignment. And you can't really see it, but right now I've got more weight shifted into my right leg. So I'm actually going to take my foot off, slide my foot to the right a little bit so I can line up that hip, knee, and ankle, and then put that left foot back on the chair. So I've got even tension on those joints. I'm going to draw the belly in a little bit and then slowly shift the hips forward till I start to feel a stretch in the front of the thigh and hip. And we're going for like a 7 or 8 out of a 10 stretch feeling. I don't want this to feel forced. So if it does feel really tight, push the hips back a little bit. That might be your position to hold in. And as you progress, as you continue to practice this, you'll find you can straighten the spine and this will feel much better to you. So for a second stretch, I'm going to sit sideways on my chair and I want to just slide my hip off the chair just slightly. So I'm going to make sure that I've got my balance. I've got a very sturdy chair with no wheels. I'm holding on to the back, and then I'm going to slowly slide this foot back and think about keeping the shoulders over the hips, drawing the belly in, slightly pushing the hip forward, and make sure that ankle, knee, and hip are in good alignment, and just kind of let gravity do its job stretching these muscles. So I might only feel a stretch in the quads, in that thigh. I might also feel a stretch in the front of my hip flexors. You may also feel a stretch in your lower back. That's also hip flexor muscle release. This is where I think it's a little bit simpler to explain the body as like a complex pulley system. We don't just stretch muscles in one direction, especially for a joint like the hip that can do all sorts of different motions, right? So finding that 7 or 8 out of 10 stretch feeling and just holding there for about 30 seconds. And if this feels like too much tension, you can always move that knee, that foot forward a little bit more. And maybe you're still, if you've had knee or hip surgery, this might be your level of mobility. You might not feel like you can bring that foot back all the way. That's okay. This is still a great way to stretch those muscles without impact on the joints. So going to my other side, again, I want to make sure I've got a good hold on the back of my chair or bench. I'm going to slide my booty off just a little bit and make sure my shoulders are above my hips. Draw that belly in as I let myself slide that foot back and stretch the front of the thigh and hip. And this might feel really different one side to another. So just be patient with yourself. Find out what that 7 or 8 out of 10 stretch feeling is on this side. We want to work towards equilibrium as much as we can, so that we can move in good alignment. But, just kind of embracing that we are all a series of imbalances, trying to work towards equilibrium. So once you've held there for 30 seconds or so, we're going to move on to our next stretch. So I'm going to do these last 2 stretches with the support of my mat. And then also if you have sensitive knees, you might want a rolled up towel as well. So I'm going to position myself so that I've got support on one side. So that could be the back of my sturdy chair or a wall, or I could even use my weight rack, just something sturdy. And then I'm going to take the foot that's closest to my support and place that on the ground. And I want to place the foot so it's ahead of the knee just a little bit. So I'm going to do that straight alignment that we've been doing with the shoulders above the hips, draw the belly in, and then start shifting both hips forward at the same time. Now, as I do that, I want to make sure I don't collapse the chest, because that's going to remove that stretch feeling in the front of the thigh and hip. So again, just making sure I draw the belly in as I shift both hips forward at the same time. And then I'm just going to hold when I feel that 7 or 8 out of 10 stretch feeling. Now, if this is your dominant leg, the knee that's down, you might find that you shift a lot of your weight into that knee. And we are trying to avoid that so we can stretch that hip. So see if you can support yourself a little more with the chair and a little bit more with that other foot. And I also want to just make sure, that maybe my knee is over my ankle. That will give me better support there. And I can kind of push into that foot for more support. So I want to make sure that, I'm not overdoing it with that stretch in the knee, putting tension there. And then I want to make sure that that foot's not too far out. So if you kind of line up your ankle right underneath your knee, you should be in good order to feel that stretch in the front of the quads and hip flexors. And after you've held for 30 seconds or so, we're going to do this on the other side. So I'm going to turn around. So setting up for this on the other side, I've got plenty of support for the knee that's on the floor. And then I'm starting with the ankle just slightly in front of my knee. So I can draw the belly in and shift both hips forward at the same time. And then hopefully my knee lines up over my ankle. And I do want to just note that I've approximately got the hips, knees, and ankles lined up. So I don't have the knees coming in towards one another. I don't have either of my feet turned out, just so that we're stretching these muscles in good alignment so we can walk, run, squat, deadlift, do everything we need to do better. And then after you've held for 30 seconds or so, let yourself just push the hips back, and we're going to come all the way down on the floor on our side. I want to start out so I'm on my side comfortably, that I've got enough support for that hip that's on the floor. I've got the shoulders on top of one another, hips, knees, and ankles. So I don't have the hips rolled back or rolled forward. And then I'm going to slightly draw my belly in, and then I'm going to take that top leg and bend the knee to 90 degrees. So hopefully you can kind of feel a little bit of a stretch in the front of that thigh and hip. And if not, just make sure that those hips are really stacked. And you can always come back to that start position, draw the belly in, and then do that. And then slowly, if it feels okay, I'm going to start bringing that bottom knee up towards my chest until I feel that stretch increase in the front of the thigh and hip on that top side. Now, probably you're also going to feel an outside of the hip stretch here, which is great. If you feel any tension in your knee, then just make sure you put something underneath that knee. Something like a foam roller or a pillow works really great for that if you do need a little added support. But if you don't, you might actually find that you get, an even better stretch by kind of letting that knee drop down and stretching the outside of the hip while you can still feel that stretch in the front of the thigh and hip. So I would just, hold in the position where you feel that stretch best for about 30 seconds. And then I'm going to slowly walk the feet back to that original start position, move the ankles around a little bit, make sure I don't have any muscle cramps. And we're going to turn over and do this on the other side. So laying down on my second side, I'm going to just make sure I've got the shoulders kind of in line, the hips stacked, the knees and ankles. Draw the belly in slightly and bend that top knee to 90 degrees if I can, comfortably. Try to find that stretch in the front of the thigh and hip, and then slowly start to bring that bottom knee up towards my chest till I feel that stretch greatly increase. And, for me, this is my tighter thigh, my tighter hip. I don't feel like I can bring this knee up quite as far. And that's okay, right? That's the whole point in doing this. We want to just work through those imbalances delicately. So wherever you feel that 7 or 8 out of 10 stretch feeling, just let yourself hold. And, if it's not too tight, you don't feel any tension on the knee, you can just kind of also feel that outside of the hip stretch and let that knee gently drop down. But remember, if you are feeling anything unkind in that knee, make sure you put a foam roller or a pillow underneath it. You could also straighten that back leg just a little bit, or you could bring this foot back. All of those things will take some tension off the knee, and I'll still be able to get that front of the thigh and hip stretch feeling. Thanks so much for making time to stretch with me today. I hope you feel more flexible and better set up going into everything you've got planned in your week. If you're looking for workouts, exercises, healthy recipes, and other healthy living inspiration, please check out the rest of my YouTube channel. And if you need some one-on-one support, putting together your exercise plan and nutrition program, please reach out to me in the link in the description. In the meantime, I look forward to continuing this journey with you, and I'll see you in the next video. Hi. Were you so patient? Were you such a patient girl? Come on over. Oh my goodness. That's a good stretch. That's a good stretch for right now. Good girl. Good job. Good job. Good stretch, girl. Good stretch. Good stretch. Max, do you want to come in? Bless you. Thank you for sneezing on the mat. This is the unseasoned mat. We're seasoning it. Oh my goodness. I'm so glad I have a yoga mat for you to stretch on. I know. That's what it's for, right? That's what it's for you to stretch on. Yes, definitely. Definitely. Yeah, good girl.